Welcome to the Father Figure Formula. Create moments that matter.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Father Figure Formula Fireside Chat. Today we have a very special guest in Mr. Bobby Brown, otherwise known as Donuts with Dads. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate your time. You are looking sharp today, my friend.
I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite to make this happen.
Yeah, no problem. And I always respect everybody's time here. So we want to get into a series of questions, but we got to get into a little bit of a bio here first. So maybe let's just take a minute or two. Tell us about yourself, why we're here today. I know we're both fathers. That's the commonality here, but dig in a little bit more on your story.
Yeah. So I have 4 lovely children, wife at home, beautiful life we have going here. But I think what really makes us work together is the work you're doing with fathers and the work I'm doing as well. Founded Donuts with Dads back in 2019. And yes, fatherhood is amazing, but there was a moment and moments often where you need community, you need help, you need to vent, you need support. And my mother-in-law runs Kindred Space LA, which is a birthing center out in Los Angeles, midwifery practice. And they had a lot of mother support groups. So I would be very jealous of my wife when she would come home from these groups, recharged, refilled up, and ready to love on the kids and our unit. And I wanted that at some point. We had our twins in 2017, and it was a different level of exhaustion that I was hitting around 2019, and I couldn't find a group, so I created it. So that was in 2019. It's really just a community of support for fathers. We lead workshops. We meet virtually every week. We have annual retreats. We have a digital community, so we're always just a text away or a message away, and we're able to do that. Outside of the fatherhood stuff, I'm a community leader. Ran for city council back in 2022 in Inglewood, California, and that came out of a passion for healing others, right, and giving them the opportunity to heal. My thought in that campaign was really, if you heal the individuals, the community can kind of become better as a whole, right? That didn't work out. I was in Los Angeles, born and raised. That didn't work out in 2022. In 2023, family and I relocated to Northern Virginia. I was able to pick up and find another role in my industry. I'm in the financial services industry, been doing this for about 18 years. And I was able to take my passion of leadership from that experience of running for city council and bring it over to this side of my life. And so I've been in management and leadership, been able to follow my passion of servant leadership in corporate America and really stop compartmentalizing my life professionally and personally, and kind of find that alignment in which I show up as myself in every room that I walk in, whether it be at work or at home or inside of a grocery store, right? So that's really who I am, what I've been trying to focus on over this iteration of my life, and really the focus of me of trying to pass those things down to my kids to be able to show up as their full selves, and it pours into a lot of the work that we do with fathers too at Donuts with Dads.
Amazing. Sterling reputation, my friend.
I appreciate it.
And I think, we'll bring up a few kind of pieces of information, obviously, that are going to be helpful for people. But I mean, target words, right? We kind of talk a lot about intention, kind of, especially from a presence standpoint. So let's kind of set the tone here. So when did fatherhood really stop being something like you had and start being something you had to practice? Like what happened kind of before that shift, maybe?
Great question. I think for me, it was really when we had the twins. You have one kid where you're able to kind of assume your role, assume to position and what the dynamic is in your household. Mom does these things, dad does these things. But when you become outnumbered, and it's no longer man-on-man defense, right, so to speak, you start to deconstruct those societal norms when it comes to gender roles or roles within a relationship. And for me, that's when it became a less of a I have to be dad, and I have to be to I get to be a parent. I get to be a leader. I get to be somebody who forms these little humans into hopefully being positive contributors to society one day, right? Keeping them safe and doing all these things. But within that, I also found a forgiveness of my father, right? My biological father. And that hit a switch also from I can only do things the way I've seen them done on into becoming more of a I get to shape this reality. I get to redefine, I get to reimagine, and I get to forgive a man for simply just being a human, and not necessarily having the tools or the resources to maybe show up the way he wanted to or get through things the way he wanted to or in a better way, which also kind of laid the foundation for Donuts with Dads, making a full circle, and having them claim their power back from whatever stories or narrative they kind of establish in their own minds. So doing a lot of the spiritual work and the grounding work myself, I was able to kind of convert that into fatherhood, and again to that compartmentalization piece, not separate Bobby the individual to Bobby the father to Bobby the this, Bobby the that, and kind of make it all one person, one being as it is, right? So long-winded way of answering your question, but I hope I was able to kind of get it all there.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, so there's a lot of dads that I think kind of confuse, providing with kind of presence. Like, I've done what I've done, that's my role, that's my position. So, I mean, did you ever kind of, it seemingly maybe before that switch, that change, did you ever kind of have that confusion, and did it kind of cost you personally?
Yeah, and I think it's something that wasn't a one and done. I think this is something that comes up often, at least in my the work I do every day with my affirmations or me setting the tone of the day or my visioning. It's something that I have to pull myself out of, right? Because these are things I was taught my entire life. This is what a father does. This is what a father is, right? You go to work, you provide, roof over your head, food on the table, done deal. I'm not part of the belief that I have to be the provider and the disciplinary. Like, those are the two things that I saw in my childhood. And it never, in the time, that's all I knew. But coming into fatherhood, I knew I wanted to be more than that, and I could be, and I should be, right? So I think, yes, there was a moment where that happens, and maybe I still do get in, not maybe, I know I still do get into that pattern sometimes of coming to work. I gave my best self at work. I show up and I have nothing left for my family, right? Which is okay. That happens sometimes. But now I'm in a position to know that I can vocalize that. I can communicate that to my partner and say, hey, I ain't got it today. I gave everything there. And I'm not saying I gave everything there because of the family. I gave everything there because I'm showing up as my full self there. I just ain't got it right now. And the difference between the first iteration of Bobby the father, and now I think I am able to communicate my needs, my wants, establish my self-care, and know that it's okay to say, yo, I need help. Whereas before, I never viewed men specifically saying, hey, I need help.
Yeah, and that communication is such an important, I mean, literally the structure of all relationships, right? And who knows how the communication is going to go the other side. So I think it's, another conversation. I think a little further down, we'll talk about the significant other relationship, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's maybe kind of talk about kids for a second, right? So, like, if your kids were describing you, maybe like during your hardest season, right? Like, no filter, what words would they use? Maybe like single words. It doesn't have to be full out sentences, but like, how would they describe you?
Whew. I'm trying to think of my 13-year-old because he does a good job at acknowledging things and recognizing that he sees things and expressing himself. Provider for one. It's not a bad word, but provider for one. Loving, caring, passionate, I think community would be put in there some form or fashion. A leader, because they definitely see me leading groups and doing those things. Someone who is confident. But I think somebody that allows them to safety, like someone that provides them with an idea of structure and safety. And I think gratitude is something they would put in there as well. Some of the not so good things without too much judgment. Loud, just because I do yell from time to time. I don't think they would see me as sad or depressed, which is something that I couldn't say maybe 6-7 years ago. Present, and I think that'd be the most powerful word that they could use. My daughters, I think, would view me as somebody who is just loving and I try to breathe life into them. They have daily affirmations they read, so I don't know how they would formulate those words, but I think those are a lot of things that they would view me as. And it's great that you asked that question, because that is something I think about, right? We often think about that with the people we work with and the people we encounter, but we don't often allow that to dictate how we show up at home. And I think that's more of our true essence. Oh, and handsome. My kids love to say I'm handsome.
Love it. Love it. That's a nice mix. I mean, usually I got like maybe one or two word responses for that, but I think that was very well rounded. I appreciate that. So, in the father figure forum, we kind of talk about 3 levels of relationships. And this is something that I've learned from my training in the Tony Robbins program for coaching. And it's kind of level 1 is, basically you're always looking for something, right? You're not necessarily giving. Level 2 is you're giving, but you're expecting something back. And level 3 is essentially you're giving without expecting anything back. And it's kind of been shown that level 3 is where some of the most, happiness is, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I typically ask this question, and I usually get a similar answer, but what level do you think most men think they're operating in versus where they actually are?
Most men, I think, they think that they are operating in level 3. And I say that because that default, that's what I think. I truly believe I am operating in level 3 now. But it was very intentional and it still takes a lot of work to navigate there. It's more of my spiritual practice versus anything. But I think most men, especially in environments where they're being recorded and asked questions, I think it's hard for them to acknowledge that they may show. First off, we're judging each level, which I don't think each level deserves judgment. But I think we are when you say those things. And I don't think we want to show up as being perceived as anything other than what we view as the highest, which is level 3. But I can honestly also say at the same time, not to walk into my own stuff as I just laid that foundation, I truly do the work to show up in that level 3 area. But I do think most men probably view themselves as working from that space.
And I think what's kind of maybe a big takeaway there, where maybe I think there's some who think they are in level 3, right? That they're constantly giving, but maybe what's kind of a subtle example of how they're probably in 2 or 1, because they think it's not transactional, but it often is, and maybe the subtle undertones, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I'll keep it in relation to the family, right? Like, and kind of doing things at home. I know for the beginning of our relationship, my wife and I had an expectation without knowing I had an expectation of, hey, I'm going to work, you're home with the kid, the house should be clean when I get home. That was an expectation I had without realizing I had it. It wasn't an intentional one, but I had it. I would come home, see the house not clean or the dishes not done, and there would be resentment, not intentionally, but it would be there. And that shows me that I'm expecting something, therefore it is transactional. And once I was able to let go of expectation and kind of remove the attachment to that expectation, I was truly able to not only love unconditionally, but give unconditionally and kind of live in a space of gratitude. And I don't feel like you're genuinely grateful if you are giving with expectation of something back. But again, it took a lot of work to get to that mindset versus thinking you're just providing, coming home, not realizing you have an expectation of something, not understanding why you're upset and not vocalizing it, to never really figuring out what the root cause is. And yeah, we had that problem, the communication problem, where I would just be quiet and be angry and not recognize why I was angry. And then eventually through communication and some therapy and recognizing that's individual therapy and couples therapy, recognizing that, oh shit, I have this expectation, therefore it's resulting in this feeling that I don't know how to communicate. And that blows everything else up at home.
That does take time, right? That's some serious work. And I think acknowledgement, understanding, and then going back to intention and presence again, right? Being very intentional with that. So let's kind of strip away like that self-care, the motivation, kind of, the retreats kind of thing. Like, what does real commitment look like kind of just on a random night at home?
As far as actually what we're doing at home, like
being intentional with the presence.
It's little things, and those little things, just because they're little doesn't mean it's easy. So for example, one of my daughters has recently really gotten into wrestling, like WWE, and I grew up on that stuff, so I love her passion around it. And it's my fault that I'm not into it as much as I was, but she stumbled across it, and I was like, hey, let's watch WrestleMania one year, and here we are. So when I get home, she just wants me to sit on the couch and cuddle with her and watch it, right? I may be a little OCD. So when I get home, I want to take my clothes off, do what I got to do, change. But then I'm like, okay, what needs to be done around the house? And I'm start doing those things, autopilot. Versus just sitting, she's telling me what she wants and what she needs. All I got to do is sit down and watch this with her, which genuinely I enjoy. But there's something in my head telling me all this other stuff needs to get done. And I think just being able to take that, it's like going to the gym. I don't want to wake up and go to the gym every day, but eventually once I'm at the gym, I'm so happy I'm at the gym. Same process. In the moment, I feel like there's 1,000 things I need to do. I can't just go sit down with you, but yes, I can. Yes, I can. And just doing that. So I've been trying to really do those things more. They tell me they want to be tucked in and cuddled, but I'm like, okay, well, I just got the little one down. Now I need to go put the food away. Now I need to go do this. But no, I can go sit there and tuck you in. Like, so I don't know what it is, what that voice is, or what that feeling of doubt is, or the feeling of scarcity, there not being enough time. But I think just committing to doing and reminding yourselves that you can do hard things, and then committing to doing the hard thing, whatever that is. Those aren't hard things, but in the moment they feel hard. I feel like that's the commitment that needs to be taking place at home.
Yeah, I tell my kids just about every day, you can do hard things.
Yeah. Right? I put it on my girls' affirmation list, so they read it every morning.
100%. That's awesome. So if you had to give, dads listening, a one-sentence commitment pledge they could actually live by, like what would that be?
It's going to be very different than everything I just said. It's going to be commit to pouring into yourself first.
Legit, that's a good one, because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of other people?
Yep. And that's pretty much why I used to view self-care and things I wanted as being very selfish, so I steered away from them. And that led me down a path of not being happy, not being able to show up as myself, and not being able to help others. And then realize, oh, okay, well, if I just take little doses of this self-care, whether it be meditation in the morning, whether it be affirmation, self-care, it looks like and feels like something different to everybody. So when we instantly hear that term, we're thinking vacation by myself on the beach for 3 weeks. That's not sure, but that's not what it is. Yeah. For me, it's going to the gym in the morning, coming home, meditating, doing my affirmations, and I'm able to show up for everybody here at home, everywhere, right? And sometimes I do need a 24, 48-hour getaway. I do need solitude and quiet sometimes, but I'm able to check in with myself now, vocalize it to my partner, vocalize it to our kids who understand the importance of self-care now, because we understand the importance of self-care. So I think a lot of those things we were talking about previously, providing and protecting and doing all those things, are hard and do lead to men being depressed and leads to the suicide rate as what it is and leads to the loneliness rate at what it is. But if we would have started with the self-care factor, I don't think those things ever would have become a problem. But we are so in our heads about that being wrong and that we don't deserve it and that we don't need it, that by the time it is an option, it's too late.
Yeah.
So I think that to be able to microdose self-care is something that I would lead with.
That's a good lead into the next kind of, I guess, topic you could say is kind of, time and priorities and boundaries, you can say, right? So a lot of dads we talk to, or just in general, say, I don't have the time. So what's the response that kind of calls them higher, like without kind of, shaming them or talking down to them?
Yeah, you deserve to make more time. You deserve that time, right? Like, I think priorities and values are things that are going to change constantly in life, right? Values, maybe not as much as priorities, but I think high on that value list needs to be yourself. So that's where I first like to start, right? Like, tell me what your values are. List your top 5 values. If you're not on that top 5, why not? I'm not shaming, but why not? Because you need to be. So why not? And a lot of times we're not. So I think that's where we need to start at those values, and then maintaining us high on that value list, ourselves on that value list, and then prioritizing things that are in alignment with your values, right? And then once we're able to do that, we're able to stay realigned, stay in touch, and then time doesn't become an excuse anymore, right? I knew I needed to go to the gym because that makes me feel good, so I wake up at 4:44 every morning. And maybe that's not ideal for everybody. The sacrifice I had to make was to go to sleep earlier, right? I used to think, I can't do that. I have to be at work at this time. I have to help with the family at this time. I have to do this, and that. And then I'm gonna be too tired when I get home, right? Give yourself the opportunity to A, surprise yourself, and then B, allow the miracles to show up and allow the miracles to happen. By you saying I don't have the time, you are telling the universe you ain't got the time. And the universe is like, yep, you're right. But if you're able to change that mindset, you're able to change the way the universe responds to you, and you're able to change the miracles that present themselves to you. The sky's the limit, right? So I think, without shame, there's no shame in fatherhood. That's we can get into shame. That's a whole nother, we could probably spend 3 hours on that.
Yeah.
But I think the key is yes, there is. Yes, there is enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we pull it from? I have back-to-back meetings all day. So you know what I did? I shortened each meeting by 5 minutes. So 1:30 goes to 1:55. If I got to make notes, go to the restroom, take a sip of water, get a cup of coffee, it is what it is. Why did I do that? Because I used to say I didn't have time in between meetings to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd be surprised what you can get done with 5 minutes. I know I break my time down in like 15 minutes, and it doesn't seem like much, but you'd be surprised what you can get with that amount of time. That's just for sure. So, and I maybe I'll kind of vibe on that a little bit. Like what's kind of, where do you think people are wasting most of their time? Probably a lot of this, screens, TV, like.
Sure. But to me, that can also be a form of self-care. So I think, yes, I think we spend way too much time in our head. I think we spend way too much time listening to that voice that is telling us we are not enough, we don't have enough, there is not enough. And I think that is where we spend too much time, rather than just, there's nothing to it but to do it. Get it done, right? And I think the time that we spend thinking that there's not enough time, right there is your time, right? The extra time that we spend in traffic, sometimes we're viewing that as just sitting in traffic. But in reality, you could be deepening relationships. You could be on calls with people. You could be doing your affirmations. You could be talking to the universe, talking to your God, whatever it is that you do spiritually. You could be listening to audiobooks. You could be. So yes, there's these pockets of time that we view as one thing, but if we're able to redefine those things, so much more can happen. And I think that's all it. I think it's a mind shift, and a lot of times it's just the only permission that matters is the permission you give yourself. But sometimes we do need that permission outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to your point, I think that's where communication comes down to, because a lot of us have this preconceived notion that our partners, our spouses, it's a no. Nope, we can't go do this thing. I'm not even going to ask. I'm not even going to, but communicate it. Communicate it. It's a partnership, right? And I'm speaking from experience. These are all things that I have already worked through because I hit these roadblocks. And a lot of times friends would invite me out. I'd say no, because I know how stressed my partner is. I'm not even going to cross that bridge. And when in reality, I could just say, hey, I need some self-care. I want to go do this thing. Are you okay? Yes. Versus now I'm intentionally or unintentionally now putting my lack on her, creating this resentment and making her guilty of something she's not. I never even gave her an opportunity to have a participation in. So I think it's really just that rewiring that needs to happen in a lot of our brains.
Yeah, good point. Some good points there for sure. So let's maybe talk about boundaries for a bit then. Like, what kind of boundaries did you set at work, or, some people have to do it with their phone, that actually kind of, change your home life?
A lot. I mean, I switched not careers, but roles essentially because I had to set boundaries. Having to really set boundaries. I don't think it was so much for me with work or my phone, or sometimes I'll just leave my phone downstairs. So when I go upstairs, it's not with me. But these are intentional things. A lot of the boundaries we had to set, and I say we because I know me and my wife both had to do it, was with people, with friends, with family. With anything that was draining of our energy and not pouring back into us, right? And us being away from our village or our tribe in Los Angeles for the past almost 3 years has really given us an appreciation of being with just the 6 of us. Because now the boundaries that we maybe didn't want to implement, or we're scared to because we didn't want to ruin those relationships, they've naturally happened, right? But also we have grown so confident in our unit that if there's any boundaries we have to set going forward, we have much more backbone in those conversations. An easy one that I think a lot of people can relate with, and I think you touched on it earlier, is our parents, right? Just because you raised me a certain way doesn't mean I'm raising my children the same way. We had to have some tough conversations. I'm biracial. My mother's white. My father's black. My children are black, white. They're a whole bunch of stuff. Native American. They're from the islands, from Antigua. So there was a lot of cultural things that I embraced that my mother may not understand, but I think very vividly back to when the BLM movement was happening during COVID, and really having to have tough conversations around, well, this is what we're exposing our kids to. You did not expose me to these things. That's fine. You did not view me in this way and set me up for this historical understanding of my background, which is fine. But we are doing this to our kids, right? We are doing this for our children. You can be with it or you cannot be with it, but it's a requirement for us. And it was received well. It wasn't a bad boundary we had to set, but it was one we had to set. And I think that's something that it's going to happen over and over and over again. We do it with our children as well. So I think it's just an understanding. Again, it starts with the unit, and you need to communicate so you guys are on the same path, under the same understanding, and kind of the same mindset of what boundaries are we going to set and why, and sticking to that why. And I think that's a very important piece of it, because you can't be available to everybody all the time, especially in the way that they think, the way that they may feel entitled to your time or your space or your energy. Your family has that, your children have that unconditionally, and they should. So you need to set the boundaries around you that allow that to take paramount and to take place. So, yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. Through experience, right? I can feel the experience coming through the line here. So let's maybe kind of talk about like the flip side of the boundaries with the moms of the partners, right? Because they need to set them too. So like fatherhood isn't like helping, but more like a shared leadership. So what kind of boundaries do you think the partners need to set?
I think I can speak to our situation, and I think a lot of that was like, again, how you're mothering versus how your mother mothered you, or how all that happened. The biggest thing is really my mother-in-law is phenomenal. I wish everybody had a mother-in-law like my mother-in-law. She's taught me so much, not just about children and the birth world, but also about how to prioritize myself. And I think that's easier said than done. So one boundary specifically was really around um, the pressure of establishing those practices of self-care, right? It wasn't the easiest for my wife to establish those or to ask for help, right? For nobody, but I think for my wife specifically, it's one thing to know what I have to do. It's another thing to do what I know I have to do. And then to be reminded of the things you're not doing that you know you have to do. So I think one of the boundaries she had to set was, hey, I don't need you to remind me all the times of the things that I'm doing wrong. Not necessarily doing wrong, but all the things I'm not doing for myself. I know I'm not doing them for myself. So I think that was just something for her to become the mother that she is, my wife specifically. And then also just to heal their own relationship in certain things, right? Because there are certain, especially when you have multiple children, you're not mothering all your or parenting all your children the same way. It's not a real thing. So while my wife is becoming a parent and a mother, she is recognizing things about her childhood that she now has to go heal with her mother, with her father, with her siblings, whatever it is, that lead to new boundaries being established, but ultimately lead to healing. And honestly, my biggest inspiration in doing all my work has been able to witness that, right? That was my permission. Seeing her do it was the permission I needed to give myself the permission to go do the same things. So I tell my wife all the time, like, watching you become and do is why and how I'm able to do it, right? So, yeah, I think boundaries are very important, and I think they're healthy. You just need to be able to communicate them properly.
100%. So let's maybe kind of shift to like, stress, emotional regulation, maybe even a bit more about communication. So what's kind of like the most common, maybe emotional trigger you see in dads, and like what's kind of usually sitting underneath it?
Ooh,
Most common. We could probably go off on a variety of topics here, but most common.
Most common. I think it changes between the stages of fatherhood, but I have a lot of new dads in my group now, so I'll focus there. And the most common trigger, I think, is twofold: crying and lack of sleep. Like the uncontrollable crying that they cannot heal. They can't fix it. We think we're here to fix. They can't fix it. So like the lack of control with that, mixed with the lack of sleep, and when those things come together, it's all hell breaks loose.
Interesting. I mean, I think you mentioned kind of fathers having this element of always trying to fix things, and a couple conversations I had, it maybe comes from just the place that they feel like they're supposed to be playing, or potentially about a level of ego, right? So maybe kind of speak to ego for a second there, and kind of because I know that could be again one of those emotional triggers, but let's maybe speak to that for a minute.
Yeah, ego, man. Ego.
You brought up shame earlier, and I think those kind of come.
Yeah, 1,000%. Ego, fatherhood has no place for ego if you want to do it the right way. I hate saying the right way. If you want to do it an intentional way. Ego is a beautiful thing. It can be, but it's also something that I think is restricting, and it kills a lot of things before things have an opportunity to even bloom. And I say that out of, again, back to that voice in our head, right? That ego, right? We think it's us. We think it's ourselves. We think that voice is us. That voice is not, if I can hear it and respond to it, then that voice is not me. And I think ego is important to recognize that you are a spiritual being, but I think ego is there to remind us of the power we have, and you can surrender to it, or you can use it as motivation to do other things. And I say there's no place for it in fatherhood because my kids ask me to do some crazy stuff, and if I let ego take place, which sometimes it does creep in, I would not show up as the father that I want to be. My kids be calling me some names, and they be hitting me, and they be doing some things. And if I let ego run that more often than maybe it already does, I probably wouldn't have custody of my children, right? Ego is there, and it really makes you see red quickly because it's being challenged, and it doesn't like to be challenged.
Yeah.
But I think it's also can be a very beautiful thing if you know how to respond to it.
Embrace it in a way.
Yeah.
So I guess in that moment when you feel like you're getting kind of worked up and you kind of have that reset, what's something that you can actually do in that moment? Maybe like a tool in the toolbox for that moment.
Yeah. First off, let my wife know I'm tapping out. Babe, I'm tapping out. And she'll do the same thing. I remove myself completely from the situation, and I listen to the voice of, I've read about this. I've been through this before. I know what I need to do. And that's the trick with ego. My kid's having a tantrum. I should just get down and offer a hug versus responding and arguing with a 8-year-old, right? But ego's like, no, we're arguing. We're fighting today. So I have to remove myself. I'll go breathe. I'll take deep breaths. I'll just go outside. I'll go work out. I'll be with my kids. Plant-based medicine is something that is something I indulge in. So if that's where I need to go, that's where I'll go. But for me, doing a task is something that kind of gets me out of that. It puts me back into my OCD routine, right? If those dishes are piled up, I'm going to do the dishes. If the floor needs to be swept, I'm going and sweeping. If the laundry needs to be folded, I'm folding. Kind of regulating myself back to my zero, right? And I think that it all starts with the communication, though. I need to be able to say, yo, tapping out. Yeah. Tapping out. Either you can come step in or just let this keep happening, but I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, again, communication at the forefront to get there. So I guess like potentially if you have overstepped that line, and like what's a sentence you wish more dads would say to their kids after they mess up?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This what we do also is, and not a later sorry, a sorry close to when it happened. But also, hey, how should I, from your perspective, little 8-year-old, what could I have done better? And you'd be surprised at what they say, right? Because you think it's going to be, well, just let me eat the candy. And it's not, sometimes, yeah, that may be what it is. But a lot of times it could have been just like, give me a hug. Oh, I could have just gave you a hug. Oh, well, shit, my bad. But I think I'm sorry is one, which again, ego may stop you from doing that because you're 8 years old. I paid for all of this. Why am I saying sorry to you? But that needs to happen more because even now, I think if I had a real honest conversation with my biological father, who I haven't spoken to in some years, I don't think he could say sorry to me. But if I'm in a practice of already doing it to my children now over things that can become traumatizing situations, when it comes later in life, not only am I going to be able to say sorry to them with ease, they should be able to say sorry to others with ease. So I think
Yeah.
I'm sorry is something we should say to our kids more.
Yeah, 100%. So let's maybe switch to, I guess kind of, you do a lot in kind of community and maybe like quality time and kind of rituals, right? And I know quality time gets thrown around a lot, right? So what's the difference of kind of between being like near your kids and actually kind of being connected with them?
Yeah, we do a lot of board games in our house. We play a lot of Uno. We play a lot of Monopoly Deal. And I do need to do a better job at playing with them, right? So my wife leads that. She does a great job and she has the patience for it. I don't always have the patience for it. So I will somehow still be involved, or I'll be in the kitchen while they're right in the dining room doing it. I think that to me is being near them, right? But I think to be more intentional and to have that real quality time, we do things. I'm a huge movie guy, so and my kids are becoming that way. So we will put the projector on and get all cuddly and snuggly and sit down together and watch whatever movie it is they want to do. We recently just did it with the new Wicked and was the new Zootopia. And those types of things. We like to do a lot of hikes. We're big on adventures and outdoors. We did a lot of camping back when we were in California. So just being able to make those memories, I think, are huge, because now we not only can we look back at them, but we're also setting the foundation of quality time and what it means to them. And these are things that became a little harder for me to do because I didn't necessarily have it growing up. So it was a novel idea as a parent, and then being able to do it, and again to that ego side of not necessarily participating all the time. But I think it's just an intentional. The kids want to know, today is movie night. Today is pizza day. Tomorrow is this. We don't have to do it in that moment, but to know that it's bookmarked and we are doing it, they get so excited and geeked up about it. Dad is here focused on me, no phones, no nothing.
Yeah.
I think, and being able to follow through with that, I think is very special. Again, to the point of being able to sit down and just watch a wrestling match with my daughter.
Yeah. So side note, I used to be big into wrestling when I was young too. And I had those little like stuffed kind of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Like, man, my kids play with them all the time. They always have little naps with us. It's hilarious. So that's on the same page, my friend. So what are maybe like 2 to 3 small, like repeatable kind of rituals that like will build kind of that emotional safety in a home? Because you kind of spoke to it right there about having these moments to look forward to as a family, as a father, right?
Yeah.
So maybe speak to a couple others.
Yeah. So for sure, I think putting things, so they're very involved with our calendars. My wife has them mark days off and they see what's on the calendar. So I think being able to put things on the calendar that we're doing as a family that they can look forward to is big. It's huge. I do all the grocery shopping. So I usually go on the weekends, well, multiple times a week, but on the weekends, I try to do the big one. And I switch on which one is coming with me, which kid comes with me. That's something they look forward to. I honestly love shopping alone, but again, that's something that I know they look forward to, and we try to prioritize that. We've also gotten to the habit of giving them an allowance for not necessarily chores, but for going to school without pushback. And so giving them a time on the weekend where we all get to go to a store and spend that money together, right? And creating those repeatable, easy enough 30, 40-minute outings that change their whole day and kind of give them the chemical rebalance they need of us as a unit, right? And then a lot of outdoor stuff. We like I said before, we love to do outdoor stuff. So taking mini day trips, they love. Even if we're driving an hour and a half away, they love the ride there, being in the car together, they love. And then getting there, exploring, and then the drive back, like making it a whole thing. But again, I think it's just things to look forward to and then following through when the time comes.
Yeah. I notice a lot of the little things really makes them happy. You don't think about it, but the little things, man.
That's it.
So there's a word that gets brought up quite a bit. I'm trying to instill this in my kids. The big A word, accountability, right? So how do you create a space that really feels like supportive but still demands that level of accountability I think we're looking for?
Again, they mimic what we do. We are their first exposure to life, right? So to the point of saying sorry, if we're able to show how we are accountable, I think that's step one, right? It shows them what accountability is. And then just being able to not, back to shame, not shaming them for mistakes they make, not shaming them for things they may have done incorrectly, or water they spilled, or like not creating a reaction of shame allows them the space to be like, oh, I'm sorry, let me clean that up, I did that, versus pouncing on them like, oh my God, how did you do that? And I'm not saying I'm perfect, I definitely do that sometimes, but then we quickly reiterate, hey, it's okay to make mistakes. You should be putting yourself in positions to make mistakes. That's only how you're going to create less positions to make mistakes. So vocalizing it, being open about it, and that shame piece is huge. Like, I used to get yelled at for being too loud, and now that's something that I catch myself doing. But I'm trying to really remind myself of it's a beautiful thing when they are screaming and they feel safe in the house to do that, right? If I keep shouting at them to be quiet, they're not going to feel safe to be loud or themselves in their home. So trying to eliminate the moments that we are casting shame on them, I think will create not just the safety, but allow them to be hold themselves accountable without the fear. I think that's kind of more of what we do. Not just at home. I think our entire society needs to do that. I think our prison system needs to do that. I think a lot of our systems in the world need to do that. But that's for another conversation.
That is another conversation. Systems make the world go round for sure. So you could see, I guess, from an accountability sake, like when a dad kind of falls off, how do you kind of help him maybe find like the real root of that instead of telling himself just to like, go ahead and try harder, be better?
Yeah. Yeah. It goes down to me, it goes to the basics, right? It goes to journaling. It goes to gratitude lists. It goes to the priorities and the values. It goes to a lot of stuff. And in those practices, more often than not, they rediscover the issue and the solution all at the same time. There's no one way to fix it all. So yeah, when that stuff doesn't work, I think it's really having those, first off, creating an environment where you can have those discussions and dad doesn't feel that shame for coming to us about addictions or something they're not proud of. And then being able to have an honest conversation with them. If they can't figure it out themselves when they look in the mirror, then they do need somebody to possibly point it out. Am I always that person? No, but I create a space in which everybody can chime in, and once you walk into this room, you're open. You are open, and nothing is personal. So that's the most beautiful thing about the community I've been able to cultivate, is that once you show up and once you enter this ring, so to speak, you're going to be held accountable. And if you don't like it, you're not going to show up again. And that's perfectly fine. But we are going to hold each other accountable. Maybe not aggressively and hopefully without shame. But if the tools that we set forth and put into practice don't allow you to figure it out yourself, you may need somebody to tap it in on you. And kind of remind you and highlight these things. So it all starts with really creating that safe environment in which they understand it's not coming from a malicious place, it's coming from a place of love and support.
Yeah. So I guess on the other side of that, like from like a rewards or celebration, like we definitely feel that it's important to celebrate, milestones, small or large. So how do you kind of celebrate wins that kind of really, really reinforce someone's identity without having to kind of really feel that they need to be perfect?
I think it's not even it doesn't necessarily have to be a reaction to something they did as a win. I always tell the dads in my group, whether it's after a share or after something that they may not highlight themselves, but I saw on social media or I heard through the grapevine, that I'm proud of them. I'm proud of you for showing up. Lance, I'm proud of you for putting this together and working with 75 fathers and working on trying to make this fatherhood experience and this journey better for everybody involved. Truly, I am proud of you. And I think that's something that we as men don't hear enough of. And when we do hear it, it's because it's based on a transaction a deal we closed, an accomplishment we achieved, a piece of paper we earned, right? Versus just showing up every day. Hey, you woke up today, you showed up, you took the kids to work or to school. I'm proud of you. You made dinner, you made breakfast. I'm proud of you. You showed up to this session in Donuts with Dads. And even if you just sat and listened, I'm proud of you. And I think that does more than it should, honestly, because we don't hear it enough. And hopefully we can normalize it. And I got to get creative with how we do it. But it is from a genuine place. And it's something we need more of. And I don't do it just for a reward standpoint. I do it again because not everything is easy. Waking up ain't easy all the time. Getting up out of bed is not easy every day.
Mm-hmm.
And to be acknowledged is key. It kind of resets you.
Yeah.
But I think we need more of that.
Agreed. 1,000%. So kind of maybe last one or two questions here. We've coined a term called the father mark, right? And basically it's kind of that legacy, that impact that you leave on your kids, negative or positive. Because I know I've talked to a lot of folks who they've had a negative father mark enshrined on them, right? So I can say, like, if you were to leave that on your kids 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what would you like that legacy to be?
The need of support and the need of community. My children have not ever seen me not have a father support group. And yeah, I lead it, but I also attend other men groups and I attend other sessions. And my son, I forgot how old he was when he did it, my oldest, he asked me, hey, can I put together a group of my friends where we get together and we talk about things? And that was purely because he saw me do it. I've never seen my father, biological, or my stepfather talk to another man about fatherhood. Never seen it. So for the fact that my kids only know me to do that, they only know of me bringing men together they don't know what we do, but they know there's a group of support and community. So I think if I could leave anything with them, it is you need support, you need community, and community needs you.
That's beautiful, man. That is a true positive father mark right there. To see that must be very rewarding.
When my son told me that, it was years ago. We were still in LA, and I still hold there's days where I don't want to do group. There's days where I don't want to sit on there because sometimes I'm sitting on there by myself for an hour before the first person chimes in. But that consistency is led by recognizing they're watching.
Yeah.
And it's real.
100%. In closing, I want you, Bobby, to take maybe a minute or two, self-plug, whatever you need to do to kind of talk about Donuts with Dads. Like, just take a moment to do that.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, Donuts with Dads. The easiest way to find us is going to be on Instagram. I'm very active on there. Donuts with Dads. Very, very straightforward on IG. If you want to send me an email, donutswithdadsla@gmail.com. We're here for it, man. Whatever you're going through, we are here for it. If it's something we never encountered, we're here for it. If it's something we deal with all the time, we're here for it. We're going to have a couple of retreats that we put together for next year. I'll be launching that information on there as well. I'm trying to get stuff sponsored, but there probably will be a cost for most things. In the perfect world, there isn't, but there will be. And the biggest thing is reach out. You don't need to join the group. If any of this resonates with you and you just want to have a conversation, I can also just have a conversation with you. If you need other resources, reach out. We have a lot of resources for mom as well. that are through some of our partners and some of our community-based leaders. So reach out and understand it's not selfish of you to do so. And it's just another level of leadership if you take care of yourself. And your family will be better off for it.
Amazing. I appreciate you, Bobby. Thank you very much for taking the time today. Wonderful to have these conversations, this dialogue, this insight from somebody such as yourself. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time as well, and I appreciate your platform. I'm looking forward to all the amazing things you got coming forth.
Likewise.